Brecht Blog 4. How has the practical lesson impacted on the progress and development of the performance as a whole and your individual performance of the character? Today we changed the date of our show because Lauren isn't going to be there. So we've had to move it forward to the 12th, which is next Friday. So we really need to knuckle down and get our lines fully learned on the dot, so we know exactly what we're doing. We have developed a lot more of the scenes, adding better blocking, changing scene 10 slightly. We're going to be recording the voices on Monday, so we've got a full tech rehearsal on Tuesday. We've started to think more about the putting props and set into it, and planned it out more so we know exactly what's happening, how long to leave between the scenes so the tech can work. We need to still think about costume more, because costume's been worked on slightly, but it's not fully there. I've now got a costume for my 3 characters, but I need to make sure it's easier to swap between swap the costume, so it's simple and effective between my 3 characters. I need to set up the set, because we haven't done a full set run with all the set and props in place. We've made sure everyone has costume and everyone knows what makeup they're wearing, but we need to do it at an actual rehearsal with the costume and makeup, so we get a feel for how it's going to be worn, how it's going to be, how long it'll take to do the quick changes. We figured out how to do the characters that are multiples in the scene with the voice track over the top. Scene 10 we haven't blocked right until the end, so we've been blocking that today, and we'll be working on that again more. We've worked a bit more on that on Friday, which was yesterday. So we'll be working a lot more on how to portray that bit, because it's a very important piece and we didn't want to just end up rushing through it. So we've blocked the majority of scene 10 up until where everyone leaves and it's just the gods, Shen-Ti / Shweta and the policeman and Wong. So we know what we're doing there, and we just need to finish blocking that small bit. This lesson we've tried to do a run through of the performance, so we've got through the majority of it up until scene 9, I think it was, is where the lesson ended. So we're going to do a full run through, trying to get it quicker so it's more smooth, because we kept on stopping to sort out bits and bobs that were not quite right, such as someone wasn't stood in the right place or someone was blocking someone, not realising. The exercises to warm up that we used this lesson, we split into 2 groups, as it was Jacob's characterisation warm up, as no one is as heightened as they could be, so we need to make everything more heightened, a lot bigger, a lot better, so it's more obvious for the characters to be unnaturalistic, to alienate the characters from the audience and from the actors. And that's another technique of epic theatre. We split into the two groups. My group with Tom, Matt, Chloe, and Demi did the office scene, where I had to show Demi around as a manager of the establishment, and she is the new owner, and I'm trying to distract her from all the disturbances that the staff are causing, such as when Matt set fire to his pants. So that was a major thing, trying to make everything heightened, and it was made more funny by the fact that I've lost my voice during that lesson, so I had to become this giant mime artist and try and croak out words so she could understand, making everything I did a lot more heightened, because I was trying so hard to get my message across without being just looking silly and not being understood, which brought out a lot of comedy in it, and it also helped me to exaggerate my characters, because I based my managerial character slightly off of the wife, as in like what the wife would have been like when she owned the tobacco store. So I know how heightened it's going to be. The other group that was doing it was they were doing a scene where it was a house party, but it wasn't. It was one person's house, and this friend came uninvitedly, and then kept on bringing more people in, and the person who owns the house had to make excuses why everyone should leave, and in the end has to lie to get everyone to leave. And it was very funny, but it wasn't very extreme, it was still very naturalistic. So we really, really need to think about making everything a lot more heightened, because otherwise this performance isn't going to be enough of epic theatre. Describes the scenes that were rehearsed and the skills used. Well, I worked mainly on my facial expressions and my emotion, as well as my voice in this, because gestures I seem to do a lot naturally to go with what I'm saying, and I do make them very exaggerated to fit with the style. We rehearsed today, we rehearsed scene 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and we'd started to do scene 7 with set and props. All of the scenes that I was included in, I worked with my facial expressions, trying to make everything bigger and more exaggerated, more funny, and more appealing for the audience to want to watch. I used like the voices that I use. I've worked a bit on Mrs. Yang's voice now. I think she'd be slightly upper class, but like poor upper class. So I act very rich, but I'm actually broke, which adds to the comedy, and I can exaggerate the characters a lot more, making them a lot less naturalistic. How did the ideas develop as a group? Who took the lead? Were there any ideas of my own? How did I contribute to the development of the piece? We tried out a few ideas for for my character, as I still couldn't do Mrs. Yang full justice, I didn't feel. We worked fully as a team, but Jacob took the lead on this one, and as a director he decided he needed to say what was going on, when it was going on, and how it should be changed, or how things aren't heightened enough. So we've been really trying our best to work to make everything a lot bigger. He would give us the ideas that he's got, which he did about, like, my character thinking of, like, the upper class to lower class, and how he doesn't know whether it'll work, but he wants to try it out. So I tried it out during that lesson, and it worked reasonably well. I just think I need to heighten that more to make it more exaggerated, more false. And there were a couple of other ideas that we had to discuss as a group for the tech, so we know what we needed to do. Tom McManaman needs. We've been working with him to sort out our final lighting, final effects. What drama elements were developed. We finished blocking scene 10 right to the end, so we know what we have to do for that now. It's vaguely blocked though, it's not fully blocked because we're not sure how to transition between our characters to then turn into the gods to be in the scene. So we're working on that, working on our time in there, and quick changing behind the board. It's mainly about, like, style, the acting style that we developed this week, about epic theatre and over-exaggerating, and Jacob said that everything needs to be so much bigger or this performance is going to be nowhere near as effective and not going to get us what we need to do to make the audience understand it better. We tried out different characterizations again, as there were a few characters in the play who, if they can't exaggerate the character they've got more, they need to change what they're doing as their character because it doesn't fit right, it's not big enough, it's not going to make sense. The final products of the final stages of rehearsals. We've gone through a lot of scenes and we did almost a full run through. We had to finish at lunch because it was the end of the lesson, so we couldn't do the full run through, but we did the majority of the run through. We got halfway through scene 10 before we had to stop, and then when we came back after lunch we did more on scene 10 so we could work it out better. We're going to try out every piece of tech, every piece of props and set on Tuesday, ready for Friday, and everyone's going to come in on Thursday for an extra bit of work to get this done, and we're going to have the group as a full warm-up and then a full run-through on Thursday before we do the variety work. So we know exactly what we're doing. We've got our lines down and got everything sorted. We've worked on the makeup, so we've tried out different makeups for people, but they've got to be a lot more confident with the characters because it's just the makeup we've picked is subtle but makes a point. So it needs to be the same point that the characters are making in the same heightened way that the characters should be making them. The lesson as a whole was really effective, and it's changed the way that some people have like viewed the play and how it's going to turn out in the end. Although it's been moved forward and the stress is now getting to everyone, it's pushing them to learn their lines, it's pushing everyone further, and it's helping everyone do what they need to do to make this a brilliant performance. How did I rehearse in a safe way today? Well, our rehearsal was in another open space, so there was nothing you could bang into. Everyone was wearing blacks this week. Everyone. The majority had the right shoes on, but a couple were still wearing the high boots. So we really need to sort out that. We also need to sort out shoes for characters, because we can't always just wear like whatever we're wearing. Everyone needs to have black pumps, trainers or something similar, but they can't be like white trainers or anything. They have to be black, because otherwise it's not going to work for the different changes in the scene. My strengths for this week, I know 99% of my lines, so I know exactly what my lines are, but I'm working on where they fit in the cue lines. Like, when someone's finished their line and mine's the next line, I've got to really think about getting that in there straight away, because otherwise I'll worry about losing my line, losing where I am, and then saying my line in the wrong place or something like that. I'm a lot more confident in my characters now. They're a lot bigger, so I've exaggerated them a lot more, and I feel my characterization is getting a lot better with it being bigger and bolder. My weaknesses, I still need to work on my cue lines. I need to bring in my costume for my character that I've got at home, and I need to be more patient with people, because I'm stressing so much about it that I'm getting quite irritable, and that's not how I should be in a rehearsal. That's not teamwork, that's me being irritable. So I really need to work on not getting frustrated with people, but making sure they do what they are supposed to be doing. We're going to keep everything from today for the performance, because it's our final run through on Tuesday, and we've got everything set up, we've got everything done that we need to do. Everything is very good, but we just need to heighten it so much, and I can't emphasise that point enough. If it's not heightened, then it might just go terribly wrong, and that is one of the major concerns of all of our group. So everyone's trying their best to heighten it, because otherwise we won't fit in the style of acting. Do you need to do any further research to help you understand and develop your character? I still need to work on my Mrs. Yang, because I need to think about, right, so she's upper class, but she's poor, so how am I going to portray that best? What will be my best thing to do? My targets for improving for next week is I need to know my cue lines, which will be a massive challenge at the minute, because I need to know exactly where to come in, and I need to get my lines in the right order when I do come in on the right spot. I need to get my costume in, do a full run through with costume, makeup, set, props, lighting, sound effects, because we need to get that done so I know where my lines come, how I'm going to portray them, what will fit best where, and work on my pacing and my lines, so I'm not rushing through it, but I'm not taking ages. As a group, we need to do a full run through. We need to exaggerate everything a lot more, and we need to be stronger in our characters, be better characters than we are at the minute.